When a man does not know what harbor he is making for, no wind is the right wind. Seneca. Welcome to Unit 6, Leading with Goals. In this unit, you will read about an individual who definitely led his life from the perspective of having goals. Unfortunately, there are other readings in this unit that, while they are useful and informative, there's just not a lot of time to have a lot of effort put into those readings, but I'll discuss them at the end. The one reading that you have in this class, though, speaks about a gentleman by the name of Frederick Douglass. Mr. Douglass was born a slave in the South, yet he escaped in 1838, and this was before the start of the Civil War in the United States. During his time in the South, he learned to read and write, and that gave him an ability to speak and think, and essentially he escaped to the north. He worked in England for 2 years and was able to buy his freedom, and ultimately lived in the north and became a very outspoken abolitionist. Everybody at the time was very impressed with his ability to speak. They wondered how he was able to do that. And he explains in his writing that the way he was able to escape and then to develop his reputation really depended on his insight that you always need to have something to do, something that is the next thing to shoot for. And in his mind, he started initially with a perspective on gaining freedom for himself, and then ultimately writing and speaking such that all slaves could be free. And then even after the end of the Civil War, he worked tirelessly to gain a more integration of the African American into full citizenry of the United States. In this reading, you will discover that Mr. Douglass very intently focused on the goals that he had in his life, and that kept him going in spite of many abuses that he endured and the tragedy that he endured as a slave, and then even escaping slavery. And so this reading in particular will give you some insight into an individual who lived his life and led others by having a series of goals to pursue. While we don't have a lot of time in this particular unit, I also would like you to become acquainted with the idea of what are called SMART goals. SMART is an acronym that simply stands for goals that are S, simple. So your goals need to be simple. Don't make them very complex or complicated. Just very clearly define what is the goal. It may be as simple as, I need to write a paper by a certain time. The goal needs to be measurable. That's the M in SMART. A measurable goal might not be simply, I need to write a paper, but I need to write a 20-page paper. You also need goals that will have some level of accountability to yourself or to somebody else. So for example, you may have a class that you need to write a 20-page paper for the instructor. And so the instructor would hold you accountable. The SMART goals also are goals that are realistic. So take into consideration the tools and resources that you have available and make your goals realistic. I might have a goal to become an astronaut, However, that might not be a realistic goal because I don't have certain capabilities in maybe math or science or even an interest in those fields. I might not have maybe health problems might hinder me from being an astronaut. So whatever your goals are, they really should be realistic, and they should also be timely goals. So for example, you could say, I'm going to write a 20-page paper for my instructor on a topic for which I have a lot of research already conducted, and it will be done by the end of the semester. That would be an example of a SMART goal. SMART goals are often very useful for helping people get through their daily lives and to move forward. If you are interested and have the time, I would also recommend some additional readings from this unit. Viktor Frankl, he wrote the book called Man's Search for Meaning. He was a survivor of the Auschwitz concentration camp, and the book that he wrote described that experience and how he managed to survive and to come out of that and to still lead a life even afterwards. The excerpt in Unit 6 discusses his perception on goals and the understanding that the people who might have tended to survive the best psychologically are those that had certain goals for their life, and those goals were very meaningful for their lives. Another reading in this unit is by Stephen Covey in an article called The Power of Goals. And in that particular article, he describes that the impact that goals can have on one's personal life. So while we only have one reading in this unit, I urge you to think about goals just in terms of your own personal life, and then think about how you can use the power of goals to lead others. So far you have learned about a variety of leadership skills and characteristics. Setting a goal is a very good way to help lead an organization, a group of people, or to even lead yourself to some point in the distance. I would also urge you at this time, as you begin thinking about your leadership portfolio, there is one particular assignment where you are to describe your leadership experiences. And as you describe your experiences, I would ask you to consider in those experiences, did you have specific goals? Were those goals SMART goals? And you might want to share and reflect on that in that particular assignment about your leadership experiences. And if you didn't really have SMART goals or goals that you could take action with, you might want to consider, well, how can you make more of your thoughts and reflections into SMART goals? Goals that are specific, measurable, goals that hold you accountable, they're realistic, and they're timely. I would urge you to consider that when an individual has a set of goals to live by, they tend to be able to move a little further and be able to lead others along the way. Viktor Frankl says, life can be pulled by goals just as surely as it can be pushed by drives.